Friends, we have almost arrived. We're on the brink of 2025. We're approaching this boundary of time into the next year with all its resolutions and plans and schedules ahead of us. So let us pause just for this moment before we move boldly onward once again. Let us pause to deepen our awareness and our appreciation of those around us, to sense their presence with us this morning and to know their presence in our lives. Let us pause to consider the wintry natural world around us, the trees with their branches stripped bare and their elegant limbs on display. Let us pause to feel the spirit of life and love that ties us to each other, that winds its way through our very bones and settles in our hearts. Before we move forward armed with these resolutions that might be forgotten all too soon in the day-to-day of living, let us notice what it is that remains every day, every year, what exists beyond schedules of months, beyond time, that deeper reality that welcomes us to life, abundant life, not just at the start of the year, but every single day that we live. Well, these words by Amanda Poppe welcome all who have gathered this morning for our Sunday service, the last one of 2024. Welcome to those of you here in person at Essex Church. Welcome to all who are joining us via Zoom from far and wide. I believe we've got people joining us from Sheffield and Penzance, among other places this morning. Very welcome to join us. Welcome to everyone who listens in via the podcast or watches on YouTube at a later date. You are all most welcome. And for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Jane Blackall and I'm minister with Kensington Unitarians. This morning, prompted by the season and the fast approaching year's end, we're going to be thinking about making change in our lives. Some of us will already be formulating New Year's resolutions, setting intentions, making commitments for the year ahead. And if you're not doing that already, you might think about doing it in our New Year's mini retreat, which is online on Wednesday or in person this afternoon. But maybe some of us have given up on making resolutions entirely, or indeed given up on trying to change ourselves. Either way, we're going to take some time this morning to ponder this business of making change, whether they're large or small changes, and reflect on changes in our past, present and future. Before we go any further, let's do what we always do and light our chalice flame. This is a moment for us to pause, to settle, to get grounded and centred, to perhaps to lay down any worries or agitations that we came in carrying. It's a ritual that connects us with Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists the world over, and it reminds us of the proudly progressive religious tradition of which this gathering is part. Here, now, in this place and with these people, may we listen so that we can hear, may we hear so that we can feel, may we feel so that we can know, and may we know so that we can change ourselves and this world for the better. And may this small chalice flame, this flame that we kindle each week, may it light our way. Time to sing. I'm weaning you off like the hymn and carol fest of the last few weeks. We've got 4 hymns today. Our first one is on your hymn sheet, The World Needs Love. It's to a tune that will be familiar to many of us, Finlandia. And all of our hymns might seem a little bit tangential to the theme today, but they have that general sense of making change in our lives, in the ways that we act, in order to change the world and make it a better place for all. If you're on Zoom, the words will be up on your screen, as they will for all the hymns today. Feel free to sit or stand as you prefer and sing up as best you can. The world needs love.
Amen.
So let's take all of those joys and concerns, be they spoken or unspoken. Let's take them into an extended time of prayer now. This is based on some words by Lynn Cox. You might want to adjust your position to be more comfortable. You might want to put down anything you don't need to be holding. Perhaps there's a posture that helps you to feel more steady and centered, that helps you to fully be present in this sacred time and space, to connect with yourself, with each other, and with that which lies within us and beyond us. Spirit of life, God of all love, in whom we live and move and have our being, we turn our full attention to you, the light within and without, as we tune into the depths of this life and the greater wisdom to which and through which we are all intimately connected. Be with us now as we allow ourselves to drop into the silence and the stillness at the very centre of our being. This morning we give thanks for the gift of renewal. We give thanks for the ability to begin again, to start over, after each time of trial and loss, each season of struggle and sorrow. For the capacity for endurance in the midst of life's uncertainty and openness to the emergence of new possibilities. Grant us the courage to continue on the journey, the courage to act and speak for the well-being of others and ourselves and this planet that we share. May we forgive ourselves and each other when our courage and our care falls short. And may we resolve to try again. Grant us hearts to love boldly, to embody our faith and our values in living words and deeds. May we care and be cared for. May our hearts open to embrace humility, grace, and reconciliation. Grant us the ability to learn and grow, to let the spirit of love and truth work its transformation upon us and within us. Grant us the spirit of radical hospitality, the willingness to sustain a dwelling place for the holy that resides in all being. And grant us a sense of being at peace in the world, even as we are in perpetual motion, tossed and turned by life's tempests. Let us cultivate together the strength to welcome every kind of gift life brings our way, and all manner of ways to be on the journey together. And let us take a few quiet moments now to look inward, to get in touch with what's real, what is going on beneath the surface of our lives this morning. Let us notice what it is that we're carrying today, what troubles us, what questions or uncertainties we're faced with, and what hopes we might nurture. And from that place of realness, silently, inwardly, ask for what you most need this day. And don't get too hung up on who or what you're asking. Maybe it's God. Maybe you're casting it out into the universe. And even if you're the only one that hears your prayer, be clear on what it is you most need in this moment. And let us be sure to give thanks for what we already have. Let us look back on the week just gone and recall all of those moments, be they large or small, moments of kindness, of comfort, of generosity, even moments of joy. Silently and inwardly, take a moment to savour those gifts, to connect with gratitude and take in the good. And let us turn outwards, shifting our attention to the world around us, from those who are closest to our heart, to our neighbours and to strangers, and the wider community, stretching ever onward, as we sense our connection to every living being we share this planet with, and hold them all in love. Spirit of life, God of all love, as this time of prayer draws to a close, we offer up our joys and our concerns, our hopes and our fears, our beauty and our brokenness, and we call on you for insight, healing and renewal. As we look forward now to the coming week, help us to live well each day and be our best selves, using our unique gifts in the service of love, justice and peace. Amen. Time to sing again now. Our next hymn is number 156 in your green books, The Harvest of Truth. It speaks of that kind of striving to live a better life, to be our best selves, that New Year's resolutions perhaps try and tie in with. We have sung this one before, but probably not for like 10 months or something. So I'm going to ask Andrew to play it through in full before we sing. Hymn 156.
New Year's Resolutions by Jim Sanderson. Do you make New Year's resolutions? Do you keep them? Clearly the practice relates to the idea of a new start, of the power of the new year to purify us from the past. We do mean to keep them, but what does this practice say about us? Well, for one thing, I think it may prove the old saying, hope springs eternal in the human breast. Every year we promise ourselves that we will do better, that we will kick this or that habit, that we will be more generous or more realistic, that we will be new and improved. For me, this does point to one of the better traits as human beings. We do believe in the possibility of improvement. We have faith in ourselves. We have a desire to constantly remake ourselves. It's not human nature to freeze in time, to see ourselves as completed. We are works in progress. New Year's resolutions testify to our hopefulness. They also testify to our faith in our abilities. We resolve to make the changes we think we should. We proclaim that we intend to do so. I like this idea of annually reaffirming our potential, our power to grow, particularly as we join it to a sense of responsibility. By making resolutions, we assume the responsibility to see them through. This is another aspect of the custom I like. It calls on us to focus on what we can accomplish. We cannot resolve to be free of illness. We can resolve to take more actions that are conducive to good health. We cannot resolve to be more loved. We can resolve to be more lovable. You see my point. New Year's resolutions are about what we can do. In a prayer, one might ask for almost anything, but a resolution is a request we make of ourselves. Resolutions are starting to sound like a very Unitarian thing to do. They affirm our humanity to speak our hopes and call us to take responsibility, all very Unitarian values. There's another Unitarian value we can bring to New Year's resolutions: our commitment to be realistic. Perhaps the reason many resolutions go by the board is that they were unrealistic in the first place. We simply ask too much of ourselves or fail to consider external forces. I think this might be a Unitarian way to do New Year's resolutions. Set achievable goals for yourself. Resolve to change, but to acknowledge that we are human and that as such, we can be creatures of habit. Make resolutions that acknowledge not only our strengths and hopes, but also our weaknesses. Accept that weaknesses are part of being human and that we have to deal with them. Perhaps simpler resolutions will lead us to follow through on them and thus develop our ability to follow through even further. Perhaps by avoiding the sense of defeat that comes with breaking an unrealistic resolution, we can increase our sense of hopefulness. Remember too that the year is a cycle, and there really is no fixed starting point. We can start anew on any day of the year. Perhaps it's just as well that January the 1st is a very ordinary day. No great seasonal change, no important historical anniversary, a day like any other. Just another day on which we can resolve anew to change ourselves.
Thanks, Antony. You've got a bonus hymn now. This, again, is in your green book, number 201. I keep meticulous records of what we've sung and when, and I don't think we've ever sung this one in the church, and I don't know why, because it's a little gem. Tomorrow is a Highway. It's a folk song associated with Pete Seeger, who, as it turns out, was Unitarian Universalist in his later years. I have no idea how well known this one is or not. I did put the link in the Friday email. And as I say, it was new to me, even though it was presumably written in the 60s. I'm going to ask Andrew to play it through before we sing once again. Do your best. Tomorrow is a Highway. 201.
This reading is printed on the back of the insert in your service sheet if you'd like to read along. A New Year's Resolution by Evan Mantic. The new year brings with it a gleaming hope that lights the way into a better place. But first, with faith you have to grasp the rope and climb up days and months' increasing slope while sticking to a steady, long-term pace. The new year brings with it a gleaming hope. Be clear and focused like a telescope that sees what's true within a grander space. But first, with faith, you have to grasp the rope. In times like these, it can be hard to cope with little daily challenges we face. The new year brings with it a gleaming hope. Imagine Martin Luther were made Pope, and wretched debts were now transformed by grace. But first, with faith, you have to grasp the rope the Creator has scrubbed clean with rose-tinged soap and made for hands to perfectly embrace. The new year brings with it a gleaming hope. But first, with faith, you have to grasp the rope.
Thanks, Brian. So we're moving into a time of meditation now. During this quiet time, I'm going to invite you to reflect on all those changes that you've already made in your life so far. At this time of year, if we're thinking about New Year's resolutions or changes we still want to make, whether that's to our habits or our behaviour or our circumstances, it can be helpful and encouraging to take a moment to remember all those changes that we have already made, the ones that did stick. If we did it before, there's some hope at least that we might do it again. So I'm going to share just a few prompts regarding changes you might already have made. And for those of you who are here in person, there's a little green slip in your order of service, and there should have been a pen on your chair. If you didn't get one, I think there's spare orders of service and spare pens on the cupboard at the back. If you're at home, a pen and paper will do you nicely. I'm going to read out all the prompts anyway, and the same goes for when we return to it later on. So these words will take us into a few minutes of shared silence, which will end with the sound of a bell. And then Andrew's going to play some music for us, a special request appropriate to our theme today. And perhaps during that you might want to jot down the things that have come up for you. So again, let's do what we need to do to get comfortable. You might want to get your feet flat on the floor to ground and steady yourself. You might want to close your eyes. And the words are an offering. Feel free to use this time to meditate in your own way if you'd rather. So as we move into this time of shared stillness, I invite you to reflect on all these changes that you have already made. Perhaps focusing particularly on those changes that have made your life better in some way. You might think of hugely significant changes or only small ones. Maybe breaking a habit or giving something up. Maybe establishing a new habit or taking up something. Perhaps making a commitment to something you care about, or perhaps letting go of a commitment that's run its course. Maybe you learned something new or developed a new skill. Perhaps you cultivated a virtue or took time for personal growth. Or maybe you made some huge leap that altered your life's whole direction. Let us recall and appreciate all these changes that we have made as we enter a time of shared stillness now. Got a reading for you now by Peter Friedrichs, The Wisdom to Know the Difference. It opens with the words of the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And he continues, most of us are familiar with these words, which are often referred to as the Serenity Prayer. Its adoption by Alcoholics Anonymous in the middle of the last century and its incorporation into other 12-step programs has brought this prayer into almost universal awareness. This prayer has been literally life-saving for hundreds of thousands of people over the decades it's been in use, and its power in people's lives is immeasurable. It's treasured by them. In just 27 words, the Serenity Prayer encapsulates the heart and soul of our human condition. The first sentence is about being in control. And as hard as it is to admit sometimes, we know that we are finite and fallible people and that therefore some things are just beyond our control. So we seek to gain acceptance for these things. The second sentence reminds us, though, that not everything is beyond us. As individuals with at least some power and volition, we're also able to exercise our agency over some of our circumstances. So we seek the determination to seize and act upon those opportunities as they arise. And then in the third sentence, we name another central fact in our lives. The way is hard, the path is never clear, the stakes are very high. So we seek the power of discernment, the unmuddling of our minds, the conversion of confusion into clarity, and we ask for wisdom. The three parts are intimately connected and interwoven. We cannot achieve the serenity of the first movement or the courage of the second without some measure of the wisdom that we seek in the third. And we could spend lots of time talking about what we can or cannot change, about the scope of our power and the magnificence of our impotence, about how our image of ourselves as independent actors in control of our lives is so often at odds with the circumstances. We could reflect on what form courage takes, courage to make a change, courage to stick at what we've been doing, or what we even mean by this term serenity, what it looks like, what it feels like, how we might achieve it. But I want to focus on that part of the prayer in which we seek the wisdom to know the difference between the things we can change and the things we cannot. That part of the prayer raises this challenge of the question of discernment between what we can change and what we're powerless to do, between right and wrong, between good and evil even. And when we're talking about discernment, we're usually not talking about making a simple either or choice, about taking a sheet of paper and dividing it down the middle, putting the pros on one side and the cons on the other, and totting them up to see which side wins. Wisdom and discernment are something different. They imply a deeper quality of knowing. So where does wisdom come from? How do we gain the wisdom to know the difference? Since the Serenity Prayer is a prayer, perhaps that is a good place to start. I define prayer as an opening up to all that is beyond us and outside of us. It's about making connections with both the known and the unknown. It's about admitting that we're finite, but that we're part of an infinite system of wonder and mystery. And when we can plug into that system, when we can experience our unity with it, we're opening ourselves up to that wisdom. Experience can be a source of wisdom too, but experience can be a tough teacher. And sometimes we're not so great learners either. Deep and abiding wisdom can be gleaned from a variety of sources, but I believe that it ultimately comes down to a simple, single spiritual practice of listening. Listening to what others who have our best interests at heart are telling us, listening to what our intuition, our heart, our soul is telling us, and engaging in practices that create channels for the songs of the universe to penetrate through all the noise of our lives and reach us in our deepest, innermost places. I choose to believe that wisdom is available to all of us, all of the time, if we but stop, look, and listen. Words from Peter Friedrichs. And just a few additional thoughts from me on this business of making change. Something that we can do any day, as we heard in one of the readings earlier, but still it's something that many of us particularly focus on at the turn of the calendar year, when this business of New Year's resolutions comes to mind. Now, I want to preface my remarks by saying it's another one of those both and topics. It's so often the case that I seem to stand up here saying two apparently contradictory things at once, at least two, sometimes more. There are two contrary messages which I think are both true, but inevitably they are in tension with each other. One is a message of self-acceptance, that you are good and worthy and loved just as you are. And the other is a message of self-improvement, that there are always things we could pay attention to, do a bit more work on, to change our ways and change our life for the better, perhaps with the hope that any changes we make will have a positive impact on those around us and ultimately ripple out for the benefit of the wider world. I'm sure some of you will have heard the saying, I think I picked it up from Anne Lamott, but I don't think it's her idea. This idea that God loves us exactly the way we are and loves us too much to let us stay that way. There are parallels with the way in which we might love a baby or a toddler as they are, but still encourage them to learn to walk and talk and eventually make their own way in the world. However young or old or set in our ways we might be, as the new year rolls around, we're still not the finished article. As we heard in the reading that Antony gave, it's not human nature to freeze in time, to see ourselves as complete. We are works in progress. I put some words on the front of today's order of service from M.J. Ryan, who wrote a book called This Year I Will, ... all about how to go about making these changes in our lives that are going to stick. And she wrote, I believe that people can change, not just superficially or temporarily. I believe that we have the ability within us to truly rearrange our inner landscape and make changes happen within ourselves and our lives. We can stop doing the things that hold us back or cause us suffering and create a life filled with meaning, peace, and ultimately happiness. So in that spirit, I invite you to return to the other side of your little green slip in your order of service. In the meditation, we look back to all the positive changes that we've already made in the past. Now I encourage you to look forward and ask, what's next? Think about all those same prompts I offered you in the meditation. Old habits you might let go of, new habits you might take up, new commitments you might sign up for, or old ones you might let go of, run their course, learning new things, focusing on personal growth, or even making some great dramatic leap that might change the whole direction of your life. You might jot down a bunch of thoughts for now. You can take your time. You don't have to make your commitment right this minute. Indeed, if you are coming to the New Year's mini retreat this afternoon or the online one on Wednesday, those are perfect opportunities to go deeper into these questions. But whenever you do it, perhaps you can pick just one relatively modest, realistic, achievable change to focus on this year and back yourself. Affirm your own potential to carry on changing and growing for as long as you live. No matter how things have been in the past, there is grace. You can always turn a new page and start over. And as Peter Friedrichs said in that reading, perhaps we can keep the serenity prayer in mind. I would suggest we each pray about these changes that we want to see in our lives, not just praying for the wisdom to know the difference, but praying for guidance or clarity about where to focus our effort and intention, whether we're rearranging our inner landscape or dealing with some of the nuts and bolts practicalities of how we order our daily lives. What should we prioritize right now at this particular moment, at this step on our life's journey? Or maybe we need to pray for help, for courage, for strength and endurance to stay on the path when the going gets tough. Change is not easy, so reach out for help, to friends or to God. So in that spirit, I'm just going to close this reflection with a short prayer, a blessing for the new year by Beth Monholland. In this new year, may we leave behind the weight of unfulfilled resolutions, unrealized dreams, and unrealistic expectations. May we unpack the heavy weight of stories that tell us we're unworthy or unlovable. May we remember that we each carry within us a spark of the divine. In this new year, may we carry kindness, gentleness, and hope to hold us through even the darkest days and the most daunting risks. May we carry the weight of memory that reminds us of who we are, the weight of spirit that reminds us we are still becoming. May we carry the seed of knowledge that teaches us that improvement and growth aren't linear or individualistic, but cyclical and communal. May we carry the wisdom to seek rest and connection, to lean into mutual care. May we carry the certain belief that when we have patterns of thinking or behaving that harm ourselves and others, we can seek resources that will help us move towards healing. May we carry the knowledge that happiness and success take many forms, and one of those forms is purpose. May we carry purpose lightly, trusting that it changes and evolves and surprises us. May we carry curiosity, wonder, and the ability to be surprised. This year, may we carry space for all our flaws, all our longings, and all of our love, remembering that the truly daring adventure of life is not to be better, and best, but to show up wholly, authentically, and lovingly as ourselves. May we carry these prayers and carry each other into the new year. Amen. One last hymn. It's on your hymn sheet, in the middle of your hymn sheet. Now we sing to Praise Love's Blessing, to a good old Welsh hymn tune. Sing up as best you can. Just a few announcements then. Thanks to Janine for tech hosting today. Thanks to Antony and Brian for our readings. Thanks to Andrew, Holly and Benji for lovely music. To Juliet for greeting, and Marianne, who's already gone out to put the kettle on. If you're here in person, we've got a classic Victoria sponge this week, last cake of the year. We will leave the Zoom room open if anyone wants to chat, even though we haven't got a co-host today. Feel free to hang on and socialise. This afternoon from 1 till 4, we've got our in-person New Year's mini retreat. If you've signed up for that and you need to get some lunch, please do get back here by 1 so we can start promptly. We've also got it from 1 till 4 online on New Year's Day. If you'd like to sign up for that, please do, and I'll send you the information a day or two in advance. Tonight we've got the Better World Book Club on Zoom from 7:30. If you told me you were coming, you should already have the link. If you haven't got the link and you want it, grab me this afternoon. Next month, it's too late to read the book for tonight, it's quite a long book, but next month we are reading How We Break by Vincent Deary. How We Break, Navigating the Wear and Tear of Living. I think that's most of us could do with finding out about that. I've got a few copies to loan out, so let me know if you want to borrow one and join us for that on the 26th of January. On the 19th of January, we're going to do an afternoon of art and craft play. This is experimental. Just show up, we'll get all the paints and pens and whatever we've got in the cupboard on the table and see what comes of it. If you want that one to be an ongoing thing, try and come to the first one and we'll be encouraged to keep it going. This Friday at 7, we've got our regular Heart and Soul gathering, contemplative spiritual gathering online. Again, everybody's welcome. It's an hour and a half of kind of praying and sharing and getting to know each other better. This week our theme is the long game. It's about long-term thinking. And next Sunday I'm having a day off, but Sarah will be here instead to lead a service at 11 as usual on Epiphany. All this is on the back of your order of service. It's in the Friday email. Please do sign up for the mailing list if you haven't already, or you can take home a copy of our fancy new newsletter if you haven't already got one. We've very much got a life beyond Sunday morning, so we encourage you to look out for each other and do what you can to nurture supportive connections. But just time for our closing words and closing music. May you leave this time together changed. May the promises you have made to yourself about who you want to be feel closer to the reality of who you are right now. May you share that feeling of transformation wherever you go. May it spread into every word, deed, thought and interaction until we are all changed, transformed and transforming together, becoming our better selves for the greater good of all. Amen.
Thank you.